All right, RB, we are live another Monday, breaking down the Torrey Redux Torrey Part 2, the sequel this week. But before we dive into the Genesis, DK pricing just released an hour or two ago, so we have a ton to talk about this week.
Yep.
But how was your weekend, man? How did the Super Bowl treat you? Any big closing thoughts from Phoenix and Thomas Detry's 7-stroke victory?
I didn't watch much. My worst golf week of the year, but I guess I was.
Was it really?
Yes. I mean, everyone poked their head up. Matt McNeely was there, Kurt was there, Tom Kim was there, Cam Young was there. They just weren't going to catch him. And then I was heavy Chiefs, so poor Sunday for me. But really happy for Thomas Detry. Obviously, we've talked about him, as a stud for a long time who couldn't close. Pretty amazing that he got that win here and never won on the DP World Tour. So, but he was absolutely dominant all weekend.
Well, he won his last Challenge Tour event by 12 strokes. So when Detry wins, he really wins big. Yeah, it was a tough. I guess I went 1-1 on the Super Bowl. I did take the Eagles, but I also took the under.
Yeah,
Super Bowl was fine. But in terms of waste, I had a pretty brutal Sunday too, to be honest with you. I had kind of on Friday night, I looked at my player pool and I thought to myself, this is about as good as I can do. I have 85% of my pool making it through the cut, a 60% 6 of 6 rate. Yep. And I made about 1.5x my DraftKings entry fees. I just had a lot of guys finishing between 30th and 50th. Lee Hodges, for example, in my single entry made 1 birdie over the weekend.
Yeah.
That was not helpful by any means. I needed a little bit more from Kitayama. Pretty proud of Siwoo Kim and the way that he battled over the weekend. And then you, of course, have Scottie Scheffler finishing T25, which, he was T3 with 9 holes to play, and he was plus 500 with 9 holes to play. And the end result falling down the leaderboard, I think he shot 4 or 5 over on the back 9. What do you make of, where do you land on Scheffler right now in terms of what you saw in Phoenix and going forward?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty dominant for the first 2 days, right? So I probably won't take much from it. I think he very clearly ran out of gas on Sunday, from going, he played no golf to playing 8 rounds in a row, and now we're going to make it 12. I thought he looked fine. He really struggled on the weekend, but I'm going to chalk it up. Just say he was a little bit tired, and I don't love Torrey for him, which we'll get into, but I don't think there's any lingering effects there.
Are you worried at all about the short game? It seems like from a statistical perspective, that's been the last thing to come back for Scheffler. He's now lost 2 strokes around the green in each of his 2 starts coming back from injury. The putter actually looks good. He didn't ball strike it to his normal levels in Phoenix, but it looks like if there's one lingering issue that isn't quite up to Scheffler levels of sharpness, it's the short game thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I think Phoenix is a tough place to chip, and maybe it's just the guys that I was watching. I was tracking Gary Woodland all week. Obviously, he couldn't get a chip within 19 feet of the hole. So, I feel like with the runoffs and the sand, it's not an easy course to get around if you're missing green. So, yeah, I'm going to give Scottie 1 pass, and I'm going to say no lingering effects.
Welcome to everyone in the live chat. As always, we've got all the usual suspects in here. Where's Dave? Where's Brian? Where's Kyle? We're all here on a fantastic Monday afternoon for Torrey. As always, if you are watching this video, like and subscribe. That stuff helps far more than you know. We are butting up against 1,000 subs. That would be pretty sick if we were able to hop on here next week and I was able to say, hey, we hit 1,000 subs. So if this show helps you at all and you love the free content, which we have a strong commitment at ISN to do, we have currently 7 free shows a week at ISN, which I'm very proud of. by the way. And so for us to continue to put out this amount of 7 hours plus of free content a week, if you want to help us out by shooting us a sub on YouTube, a comment, that stuff means far more than you know, in terms of like really making a huge commitment to putting out far more free content than anyone else in the space. Talk to me about Torrey, RB. I mean, for anybody new on the Monday show, we're growing by the week, which I'm very, very grateful for. And the main goal of this Monday show is a first look at the DFS pricing and a live reaction to the DFS pricing. So we will dive right into the slate. But first, give me some far-reaching macro thoughts on Torrey Pines, and I can give a bit of a weather update as well in terms of what has changed since I last recorded on Saturday evening.
Yeah, and I think there are some changes. Very thankful that we did a lot of this research 2 weeks ago. Slightly different field. I assume we'll have slightly more challenging conditions in terms of course setup, but yeah, I mean, big boy golf course. Lots of long irons, lots of drivers. And as we get into our picks and plays, I think you'll see that trend of I am heavy off the tee bombers this week. So
I agree. And I don't need to really belabor the point here because I talked about this quite a bit on my Sunday show, but Torrey Pines is going to be softer than what we saw a couple weeks ago. I mean, we are getting a fairly significant amount of rainfall on tournament week. So looking at it right now, I'm seeing some rain on Wednesday. I'm seeing some rain overnight on Thursday. And, you know, this reminds me a lot of the Torrey Pines that we saw in 2024. I remember going to that tournament last year and my feet were soaking wet after just walking a couple holes on the golf course. I think the one thing that I would say that's changed in terms of what I talked about on the Saturday show is I don't think we're going to get quite the crazy weather on Thursday and Friday. That looks like it subsided a little bit. And I would be pretty surprised if we see any massive delays. Okay. So what that probably dictates to, if anything, is just easier scoring conditions, certainly than we saw a couple weeks ago at Torrey Pines. I mean, I would be shocked. The greens are not going to be remotely as firm as what we saw 2 weeks ago at Torrey Pines. And I really think that 2024 leaderboard RB is like a very good reference point to look at. And like I said on the last show, I mean, Pavone is a bit of a red herring because once you get Pavone, it's like 9 of the 12 longest drivers on the PGA Tour. And you know what I say on the Sunday show now, it's the, you know, there's no ability anymore for me to be contrarian. So, you know, I'm sure that everybody is just going to talk about bombers now at Torrey Pines, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to tell you what I see, and hopefully people agree with me if the take makes sense. But I don't really have like, I don't really have a strong negative angle to take on that based on what I'm seeing.
I agree. And I don't think, I mean, the biggest difference I think this week is going to be the strength of field, right? That the Scotties and Rory's here. And those guys are so good that, like, I don't think bombers versus not bombers. Like, obviously you're going to give Rory as big of a bump as you possibly can here, but that doesn't mean, you know, you're knocking Scottie down or you're knocking Morikawa down that much. So,
well, that's the question I wanted to ask you, is that my first reaction to the pricing is Scottie's 12-3 and Rory's 10-9.
Yeah.
And I look at this golf course and these course conditions, and I said this on the last show, in terms of what's advantageous for Rory's skill set, this is about as much as you can hope for Rory McIlroy in terms of like the one skill that we can count on from Rory that he is able to consistently do better than Scottie on a week-to-week basis is his carry distance. And this is a golf course that is going to accentuate his carry distance above all. So I'm going to make the bold take based on what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing in the industry. I actually think there's a chance that Rory comes in higher owned than Scottie this week at a $1,400 price discount.
I think it's viable for sure. I think for me, it's going to depend what happens in that next tier. You know, if someone wants to play Rory with JT or, you know, Rory with Ludwig, I think that might change things a little bit. because there's a lot of value. That's like, it's not hard for you to find that extra 1,400, right? But yeah, I think they'll be neck and neck this week.
Rory 10-9, Scottie 12-3. Now, Scottie last week came in at 60%. And I had him projected higher than basically everywhere that I was looking, and I still was 10 points off. I had Scottie at 50.5. All of the other ownership projections that I was looking at had him in the mid to low 40s. He finished T25, which I think the result is far worse than how he actually played. I mean, he was T3 with 9 holes to play left in this tournament. What do you make of Scottie's performance overall in terms of how it affects ownership? Because are you looking at this, or is anybody who played Scottie this week looking at his end result of T25 and saying to themselves, okay, maybe Scottie's floor is a little bit lower than we may have given him credit for? I don't know if I see that. Like, I'm not putting too much stock into the end result of Scottie finishing T25, but do you think his fall down the leaderboard has a demonstrative effect on ownership? Because I think it may.
I'm going to say yes, but I think it's just the fact that he didn't win, right? He didn't win last week. He didn't win at Pebbles. Whether he finished tied for 25th or tied for 9th or tied for 4th, like, I don't think that makes a huge difference, but people are now saying, all right, I don't have to play Scottie because he's not winning every week. So yeah, I think naturally that is going to lower his ownership, maybe from, 40 to 30, still going to be very, very high. But yes, I think there's definitely a chance Rory is sort of neck and neck with him this week.
Dave, like 50% of me agrees with you, but the other 50% thinks that there are going to be a lot of folks that jam Scottie, locked Scottie last week and saw that they made zero money off his T25 finish, coupled with the fact that the Rory course fit narrative is picking up significant steam, both on Twitter and in the Discord. If I had to make a guess right now, it's Monday. I'll do my first ownership run through on the site on ISN on Tuesday afternoon when things start to settle. But if I gave you, RB, like 35% Scottie and 30% Rory, does that sound viable to me? What do you think, Kyle, in the chat? I'm always curious on your initial ownership projections as well, but I don't know if I'm totally there yet, Kyle, but I think it's close. Like, if you made me guess right now on Monday afternoon, I'd say 35% Scottie and 30% Rory, but I wouldn't be shocked if they flip.
I think that's about right. Yeah. I think Rory just won at a place where I think a lot of people didn't assume he was going to win. So I think that's naturally going to bump his ownership up a little bit. And Scottie does not have great course history here, just hasn't played here that often. So yeah, it could be a Rory week for sure.
Do you like Rory more than Scottie, just in a vacuum at the price? Like, are you part of the group that's looking at the golf course fit and saying, okay, this is one of the few courses on the PGA Tour where, from a skill set perspective, Rory could actually close the gap on the advantage that he has over the field? Just at a granular level, are you saying give me Rory 7 days a week at a $1,400 discount than Scottie if we are assuming similar ownership?
I'm not quite there yet. Rory did play well here every time he played here, so I think there's something to that for sure. He never really putted very well here, so I think that's the biggest concern, because he's kind of putting out of his mind the last 6 months, it feels like. So no, I am not quite there yet, but they're both going to be high owned, so I think it's just going to depend where the rest of my roster falls.
Well, that would be the next question, right? Is how much of the field plays either Rory and Scottie, and is there a viable roadmap for fading both of them?
Yes, I think so, because pricing is very soft this week. So if you just really wanted to stack up your team with 9K plays, like, start at Ludwig or something like that, it's viable. But no, I mean, I'm going to say probably close to 80% is going to have one of them. I don't think you can really get both of them. I mean, you could, but I don't think anyone's going to play both of them. I'll say that.
Both of them's tough, especially with a cut. I mean, they're cutting. What is
Well,
it?
there's
10
kind
or
of a cut
16?
because so I think it's top 50, but then they have the 10 shot rule too. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, what's the lead going to be at after 36? It's going to be like 5 under, 6 under. Probably not going to be super low.
Maybe 8 or 9 under. Yeah. I think
Okay.
Torrey's gonna play easier this year, personally.
Yeah.
I'll break down. We continue to crush the scoring average props, or like what we are probably most proud of at ISN. I actually got to like somewhat take an L because the course did play actually a little bit harder than I expected. But because of Thomas Detry's 7-stroke win, the scoring prop did still come home for us. I thought it was going to be 22 under winning score, and it actually ended up being a 24 under winning score. For the 22 under winning, I mean, second place was 17 under.
Sure,
right. So it even did play slightly hard. Like it played about maybe a quarter stroke harder than I expected. And if you're asking me right now what Torrey plays in 2024, Torrey played 0.5 under par. Okay. A couple weeks ago, Torrey played 1.67 under par. I think that Torrey's going to play closer to 0.5 under par than it is to 1.67 under par.
All right.
I think so. Personally.
I hope so, because I'm playing bombers and upside, and I want some birdies. So
well, that's okay. So where are we on Collin right now? And evaluate this Collin, JT, Ludwig group for me, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have a strong lean between the three of them. And even if you want to throw Cantlay and Hideki in that group as well, I'm kind of going to let ownership tell the tale for me on that group.
Yeah, don't have super strong takes, except that I'm just not there on Cantlay. I would say Justin Thomas is still my favorite. I expect he's probably the highest owned of that group, with the unknowns of the Aberg illness and his couple of withdrawals. A little fatigue with Matsuyama, who just keeps playing every single week and was very mediocre the last couple of events. I want to play Ludwig. I might play some Ludwig if he's healthy. It's still an ideal golf course for him, and I think the conditions will be better for him as well. But that's assuming that he's healthy.
I will say right now, and I'm curious what the chat has to say, because this is an interesting range to me. But once you get past Rory and Scheffler, like if I'm looking at the mid nines, and I suppose it would be the mid nines and low tens. Yeah. JT, Morikawa, Ludwig, Hideki, Cantlay. I don't have there's not one player out of that 5 that's completely jumping out to me as the best play. I think I'm probably going to let ownership tell the tale for me. And I, to be honest with you, I agree with what you said, Dave. I think based on the way Justin Thomas finished on Sunday in Phoenix, JT is probably the one that comes in the highest owned of that group. I mean, how would you rank those 5? RB, JT, Morikawa, Ludwig, Hideki, and Cantlay, if you had to rank them 1 through 5?
Probably in that order. Yeah, probably right in that order. I've said for about a year, Patrick Cantlay just doesn't seem right. And I know, when you get to these harder golf courses and you get to California, he's going to have some good finishes, but he just doesn't quite seem himself.
How do we navigate our Prince Taylor Pendrith being 9K in a signature event?
I mean, he's good. He's a top 15 player in the world right now. That's just what he is. And
is he Wyndham Clark in 2024?
Basically, yeah. I mean, hopefully that's good for the Discord, but he's just playing incredibly well. You couldn't pick a better golf course for him. He's shown he can play on long golf courses, short, fast, soft, hard, easy. It just doesn't seem to matter for him right now. So I'm going to play him. If I have to get way different elsewhere because I'm playing him with Scottie or Rory, it's fine.
If you're part of the ISN community, then you probably bet Taylor Pendrith already at 45-50 to 1, and you're probably holding a pretty healthy ticket on Taylor Pendrith to win the US Open. Hang around in the Discord for where I fall on Taylor Pendrith and DFS by the end of the week, because I think he's a little higher than I expected. I thought Pendrith would be 8.7 in this field. Now, if you wanted to start, if we wanted to build a lineup based on the narrative that we have essentially constructed based on the course conditions from the Sunday show and in the Discord, if you start Rory, Pendy, you have 7.5 remaining. Like that is very, very, yeah, that is very, very viable in my opinion. And the other name that I would throw out, I thought he ended up being a good play at Pebble Beach. Like I didn't get quite the finish that I was hoping for out of him, but I like Fleetwood this week at 9K. Like Fleetwood, I think the golf course is still going to play hard enough that Fleetwood, particularly with his long iron play, is an incredibly viable option at Torrey Pines still.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we'll have to see how the field handles this sort of half cut, because I think they're going to play much more aggressive. And I think there's some viable punts. I think there's some punts that the models really like. And people may not be afraid to go down to like, min-price Kevin Yu, because there's a very good chance he's getting 4 rounds here. So
as we go a little bit deeper, I just want to give the official State of the Union ISN update on Shane Lowry, 8K, 8%. I'm selling.
Yeah.
Guys, you can't be over gluttonous with this. It's not a fountain of youth with infinite returns with Shane Lowry. You have to pick your spots with Shane Lowry. It doesn't work that way. Shane Lowry is 8.9K. I think his 8.8K. I think his ownership will still be kept in check because he's seeing a price increase. I just want to state into public record right now, I am out on Shane Lowry, 8.8K.
Yeah.
Let the fish have him this week. We will be 100% back on our man Shane when he comes back into the 8K 8% zone. But I think this is a perfect opportunity to sell high on our man Shane.
I agree. Yeah. More expensive, much harder field, not going to be as low owned. I think I think that's pretty easy.
Give me your favorite play in the 8s. Give me I just gave you my fade, but give me your by the way, I think Tom Kim at 8.9K, he's way overpriced in my opinion.
So, I agree. It's not a good golf course for him. So I don't know. I didn't get much into comp courses because we know Torrey so well, but just in terms of who I liked and sort of leaderboards that were compatible with that, when Finau won the Rocket Mortgage back in 2022,
soft.
I guess that was soft, right? So Finau won. Tied for second was a guy named Taylor Pendrith with a guy named Cameron Young. Wyndham Clark was tied for 8th. Tom Kim was tied for 7th. So it was interesting, at least, that he's done it on softer, longer golf courses like that. But it was just very funny because all my bets were on that leaderboard. But yeah, not a good golf course for Tom Kim, from a macro level. But I think people are going to play Rasmus.
I think so too. I don't mind it. I actually think I like Bob Mack more though.
Yeah,
than Rasmus.
Rasmus was great last week. Obviously, almost won here last year when he lost to Pavon on the last hole. But I'm going back to the hits here. Finau, 8,200.
Yeah, I fear that Finau is becoming the ISN 8K. He's just not going to be 8%.
I don't think. Not forget, this is Torrey Pines and this is Tony Finau. Like, this is a T6 print fest.
50% top 10 rate across 12 starts at Torrey Pines.
And he tied for 13th at Pebble. And like, granted, the ball striking wasn't there, but I wouldn't necessarily expect it to be there at the golf course for him, right?
He putted out of his mind, which is very encouraging to see Tony. To see Tony Finau gain 5 strokes putting on POA recently. Yeah. I mean, it's a Rorschach test for how you want to view Finau optimistically. You can look at it and say, okay, we have some real hardline evidence here that Finau is putting well on POA. That's a positive. The ball striking did leave a lot to be desired.
Sure. And he's my favorite there. I did bet him at 50
Me too.
This morning. And then why is Sepp Straka 8K? I know it's not a good golf course for him. I know people are tired of Sepp Straka, but again, this guy he's on the Pendrith level, if not a little better than Taylor Pendrith. And he's $1,000 cheaper. Like, what has he not done that he should be, in that Fleetwood Pendrith range?
Yeah, I don't have a strong argument. He like had a very sneaky good result at Phoenix as well. And
Yeah.
I didn't play any Straka. Did you play some Straka last week?
No, I didn't.
Me neither. I think he ended up still finishing like 12th or at least in the top 20 for Straka. He didn't finish top 10, but
Yeah, tied for 15th or maybe solo 15th.
yeah,
Yeah.
my only question was Straka though, and I was thinking about this with Hideki too, and it came up. It really did come up because JJ Spawn was a player that I talked about with this last week, where JJ
Yeah.
Spawn was playing his 5th start in a row in Phoenix. And
Yeah.
I remember saying, I was like, guys, watch out for JJ Spawn this week. Like, it's just a lot of golf. I don't understand this from a schedule standpoint. If you're
Mhm.
JJ Spawn, why you're playing 5 weeks in a row now? And what do you know? JJ Spawn withdrew after round 2. Straka and Hideki have taken a very they've played a lot of golf. Like Straka and Hideki have played a lot of golf to open the
Yeah.
season. And I wonder if you're going to start to see them tail off a little bit over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, not the best golf course for him, not a great POA putter, but he has putted well here before. His irons are out of this world and he doesn't miss fairways, right? So, like, he's not going to miss a single fairway out there, especially if it's as soft as we think it is. And he's just hitting his irons so well. So, I just think he's way too cheap. That's all.
Can I give you the nuts in the 8s, which I don't think you're going to like because it's not the type of player where you look at Torrey Pines and you say, okay, this is a smash candidate for Torrey Pines. But I think you have to think a little bit out of the box here in the 8s because I think the secret will be out on Finau. You know, we've been praising Finau's course fit here for the last 48 hours. I don't think Finau is going to be in the single digits, but I'll tell you a player who I do think is going to be in the single digits in the 8s. He has a really good flop lag on Sam Burns. And I know that he hasn't played the best at Torrey in the past. And you don't necessarily think about Torrey Pines as a Sam Burns golf course. But despite the fact that Burns was disappointing last week and finished like T45 or whatever, his irons completely came back. Like you look at Sam Burns' approach numbers last week in Phoenix, it was his best approach week in 5 starts. He still has the power off the tee, in my opinion, to really dominate this golf course from a driver perspective. And if we're thinking that Torrey Pines is going to have a higher greens and regulation percentage this year, it's going to be a little bit softer and wetter. This is going to be an easier version of Torrey Pines than we saw a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Who's one of the best driver putter guys in golf? It's Sam Burns. Sign me up for all of that at 8.4.
Do you think he's going to be lower owned than Russell?
Similar. And I think the Russell Henley thing is,
I like the Russell Henley argument.
Yeah. I mean, for Russell Henley, it's just another Rorschach test on how do you want to look at it. It's not a traditional course fit for Henley. You want him on shorter, more accurate golf courses. The numbers are like pretty consistent across the board here with Russell Henley when it comes to, is he better on short iron courses or long iron courses? Is he better on accuracy over distance courses? He is, and this is a distance and long iron golf course.
Yeah. No, for sure. Burns, very salty from that performance last week. So,
did you have him? Did you go pretty?
Yeah, it was my pick to win.
Yeah,
pick to win last week. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I played him in one and done, and it was a pretty dumb one and done selection, to be honest with you, because I knew that he was going to be fairly high end as well. I didn't play him in DraftKings and I didn't bet him. So I wanted some exposure to Burns and I didn't know how to get down on Burns, but I just ended up using him in one and done as a hedge and he got me absolutely nothing. Moving down a little bit lower here, talk me through this beefy range of the 7s. I had to tell you right now, man, these 4, honestly, the top of the 7s, I think is kind of a banger range, in my opinion, including Hovland.
Yeah, I mean, all the way down to, even Keegan and Benny on, and
I like Keegan this week.
Harris English. Let's not dude, just one here.
You can have that.
Yeah, I like this whole range. Yeah, it's going to be very tough. I know I sold you last week or tried to. I think I'm out on Minwoo Lee. I think I'm out on Benny on.
Me too.
And I think I'm not going to play Stevens. But yeah, Zalatoris, I bet.
Do you think Stevens is mega owned this week at 7.6? Because Ghost Jam floated this in the Discord about the Stevens price increase, and he's like the most typical course fit bump that you're. I mean, he's been phenomenal at Torrey.
I don't think so, because I think there's a lot of value just above him. Like, I think people will play McNeely. I think people will play Keegan. Obviously, Zalatoris. There might be some Hovland stuff. No, I don't think Stevens would be popular.
I don't care whether he's popular or not. I think that I got everything that I could have hoped for on Stevens finishing runner-up at Torrey a couple of weeks ago. Like, I'm not trying to push the envelope on Stevens. He finished solo second in a single entry for me at Torrey Pines a couple of weeks ago. Like, I know when it's time to hop off. For me in this range, I really like Hovland. I don't know what the ownership's going to be, but I thought that he was going to be higher price. I thought that Victor Hovland, coming off a top 25 finish at Pebble, I mean, he looked good across the board at Pebble. He gained strokes in all four major categories. And one of the reasons why I like Hovland at Torrey this week, and forgive me on this being a little bit of an inside the weeds agronomy take, but hopefully this is what you come to this show for. I really like Hovland chipping on golf courses with thick rough. And we have countless examples of this over the years, whether it's at Bay Hill or Olympia Fields or at Oak Hill. The chipping technique that you can deploy around the greens at Torrey Pines is not very skill-based at all. Like, it does not require a lot of touch or a lot of hands. There's virtually very little short grass around the greens at Torrey Pines. Like, when Hovland misses a green at Torrey Pines, he's either going to be in a bunker or he's going to be in thick chop out rough where the motion is really often the same. And you couple that with softer receptive greens and a higher greens and regulation percentage. Like, if I'm building a golf course that is going to mask a lot of the Hovland flaws, like, this would be it. Like, I think this is this current construction of Torrey Pines, in my opinion, is a phenomenal fit for Victor Hovland's game.
Are we overreacting to a couple ball striking rounds at Pebble?
Maybe. Maybe it's 100% in the range of outcomes. Like, and this is a thing that you want to monitor with play. And this is why I don't like Spieth at all this week. But you want to give some of these guys a bigger sample size. Like, I remember when Hovland finished third at PGA kind of out of the blue. And everyone said, oh, Hovland's back, Hovland's back, Hovland's back. And he was like high on the most tip chart the next week.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he had 4 days of magic, but he wasn't completely back. I just don't know how you want to view the Pebble performance. Like, do you want to view the Pebble performance as a building block? Because I don't even think that the Pebble performance is getting noticed here as like Hovland's back. I don't think people are saying, I mean, you guys say in the chat what you think people are saying in Discord and on Twitter, but like, what is the state of the union right now on Hovland at 7.9? I don't think people are running to bet him at 50-1.
But they'll play him for sure. I think, I think naturally it is a stepping stone, because his last start, he missed the cut over in Dubai. So, you know, it's better than that. And I think, I think like what you said, characteristically, it's a golf course, you know, off the tee, long irons, very thick rough around the greens, you know, kind of like a Bay Hill. You would expect him to play well there for sure.
I'm just responding to Brian. I think that's because he, I think it's because the number's huge. Like, I'm surprised that Hovland was 60. I'm surprised that Hovland was 60-1. I mean, let me ask you this: rank these guys 1 through 5. Zal, Hovland, Minwoo, McNeely, Keegan.
Zalatoris 1, McNeely 2, Hovland 3, Keegan 4, Minwoo 5.
I'm close to with you. I'm going to go Hovland 1, Zalatoris 2, Keegan 3, McNeely 4, Minwoo 5.
I mean, Maverick just keeps playing well. Like, he was 9th again last week. Back in California, he likes the golf course. Probably not as much upside as those other guys, but he's just playing great.
As we get a little bit lower here, I'm just going to give away the nuts again because I'm feeling generous this Monday morning. Adam Scott 7.6 is probably my favorite play in the low to mid sevens. What say you about this range?
just not an Adam Scott guy, but obviously fits
Mistake.
the golf course. Yeah, it fits the golf course very well. I just never has the upside when I play. I mean, like I said, I focused on a specific type, and that type is Wyndham Clark and Cameron Young. So that's where I'm at. Obviously, Wyndham was 100-1, which is just a horrendous price. He should not be 100-1 in any of these fields. And we've seen what he's done on big golf courses and signature events and majors in California. Like, he played very well last week. I think he tied for, was he 12th or 16th?
Yeah, I bet him last week. He was good.
Yeah, so he was fine. And then Cameron Young, like, I mean, there's something going on with the putter because the putter is good. The off the tee game is still pretty good. The irons are gone. So that's a concern.
I just haven't I haven't acknowledged Cam Young as an option in 2025. And but
here's the thing, like, he's only had 4 starts, right? He finished 8th at the Century and 12th at Phoenix, and he's 80-1. So if, like, I just gave you, hey, this is Cam Young. He was 8th at Kapalua. He was 12th at Phoenix, and now he's 80-1 at Torrey Pines.
Yeah, but there's context there. Like, the reason why he finished top 15 in both of those events is because he gained 14 strokes putting combined.
Sure. Yes. It's a concern that the irons are gone. Yes, they're very bad. Wedges are bad. Long irons are bad. But again, 80-1, 90-1, 100-1 even I saw out there. Like, I don't know. That's going to get me every time. And yeah, it's a type. And he was on that Rocket Mortgage leaderboard that I was looking at. So just, it's a problem.
I think for me in this range, like, I don't like the bottom 7s at all. It's Adam Scott for me at 7.5. And I don't really like any of these guys. I don't like Corey Connors. I'm lower on Cam Young and Wyndham than you. Yeah. You brought up Grazerman, Dave. I actually think Grazerman is finally priced correctly. I don't know if I'm totally there, but in terms of like what Grazerman does do well, he is a driver putter guy. And this is probably the most inclined I would be to bat. This is like a good buy. This is a good buy spot on Grazerman, in my opinion, at 7.2. But I think in this range, once you get past Scott, my favorite is Akshay, maybe. And I'm not even as much of an Akshay guy as others are.
Yeah, I don't think I would play any of these guys. I guess if I had to choose one, it would be Poston, who just seems like he's in the best form.
At Torrey?
I don't want to play any of them, but he can get lightning out with the putter anywhere. So he would be the one that I play, but I agree with you. Like, I'd rather go to the mid-6s because all my guys are there. So
yeah, so we get down a little bit further and talk me through this range of, like, once you get past DT at 7K. It's a pretty plentiful 6K range.
Yeah. I think we have to have the burger conversation first because
that was a good bet. I'm very happy.
He's going to be the highest owned here, right? Like, he's going to be the highest owned, I think.
You think so? Burger at 6.9.
After last week, really the last couple of weeks, people are on him. Finished second last week.
I think this is such an easy sell opportunity on Burger.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, again, like, with my mold of what I'm looking for, I bet Cameron Davis at 150-1 this morning.
Of course you did.
He doesn't have a great history here, but I didn't think he was going to play well at Pebble Beach either. He tied for 5th. He finished 18th at the Amex, despite not driving it well. So yeah, he could shoot 80 very easily here. He's won the Rocket Mortgage twice. I've already referenced that comp. I just think 150-1 to a guy who just finished 5th in a signature event in California is just not a good price at all.
What about Woodland?
Yeah,
I like Woodland this week quite a bit at 6.6. He was good for us last week. Like,
he's been good 3 weeks in a row.
3 top 25 finishes in a row. Obviously, he has a lot of experience playing in colder, wetter conditions.
He just can't chip.
The West Coast.
Problem. He can't chip. So maybe it's the Hovland thesis that you give him just an open face lob wedge and say splash it out. And because he would have been top 10 easily if his bunker play or short game was half decent last week. But yeah, I just don't think he has winning upside anymore in this sort of field. But yeah, like, is Woodland going to finish 12th or 15th or 18th? Yeah, I think that's very viable.
I agree. And I don't think that there are the other guy that I would say in this range that I actually really like is a guy that we both touted pretty heavily on at Torrey Pines when we were here a couple weeks ago. And I don't
Mhm.
know if these conditions at Torrey are as conducive to him as when Torrey played a little bit firmer and faster, because he doesn't have that massive carry distance off the tee. But Aaron Rai
Yeah.
at 6.7 stands out to me in terms of
Yeah,
his long iron play.
I agree.
Another Rocket Mortgage guy for you, I believe.
He's going to hit every fairway, like you said, kind of like a mini Sepp Straka, right? Irons are hot. He's going to hit every fairway. Probably worried about the putt a little bit. I think the other name, which obviously isn't here yet, that we should probably talk about is Jake Knapp, who just got into the field.
Did he get priced yet?
No, but so FanDuel opened him at 400 to 1. You know, he's not going to be that deep, but like, I mean, that tells me he's going to be cheaper than Woodland, I would imagine. And so you look down at that range where like Homa, Rose, I think he's going to be down in there.
Jake Knapp's 100% going to be like 6K or
Yeah.
6.1.
We bet him. I mean, I bet him here a couple weeks ago. He's made 3 cuts in a row, played great at Pebble. Obviously from California, plays this golf course really well. Like anything in the sixes, I'm playing him. Perfect golf course for him.
I mean, we're going to have a lot of people in the Discord all over you at flat 6K. I mean, Kyle's going to be all over you, particularly on this course fit, because you hits the ball very far. He's a great driver of the ball. And he played pretty well last week, and he also played really well at Torrey in 2024. So you have 2 guys in here. Actually, I'm pretty sure Patrick Rogers played well at Torrey in 2024 as well. So if we're talking about Torrey having somewhat similar conditions to the version of Torrey that we saw in 2024, you have Jaeger 6.4, you 6K, and Patrick Rogers 6.2, all finished top 20 at Torrey in 2024.
Yeah, and I'll throw one more out there, and this is not a guy.
Honestly, Max Homa too, if you really want to go there too.
I was going to go with another fairly recent winner here, Justin Rose, who just played awesome at Pebble. Why is he 6,400 here?
I don't know. I feel like I played Justin Rose 6.3 at Pebble and got about as much as I could have asked for out of him. Like I don't know if I want to push the envelope with Rose.
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like no one's going to play him. And if like I need the money so I can jam like Scottie and Pendrith and one more 8K, like, yeah, he's very similar with like Woodland here. Like, I feel like they both don't have like winning upside, but either one could be near the top 10, and I would bat an eye at it.
I kind of agree, Dave. I think I would sell Rose. I think my favorite 2 in this range, to be honest with you, for gummy consideration for me, and I'll run my model again and with the Phoenix numbers and update it into Insider Sheet after this. I think my favorite 2 plays in the 6K range this week, as of now, as we stand on Monday, a lot can change when I rerun the numbers over the next 48 hours, but I probably say Ryan Woodland for me. What about you, Davis and Rose?
No, I mean, I would say Davis and Woodland, just in terms of guys who I bet, who I feel really good about. The stat model itself, like obviously long term, it really likes Max Homa, but it still likes Andrew Novak, and I feel like there's a good opportunity for some flop lag there. He missed the cut on the number, right? Like he obviously didn't play very well. He had all of the Twitter sphere on him, and he was very well aware of that too. So
yeah, he's a big BetSperts guy.
I like to think we contributed to his downfall. So.
Yeah, he's a big BetSperts guy. He's deep in the data with us.
Yeah.
There's actually some long-term stuff pointing to Homa that I really like. I mean, my problem is I think when you introduce a bottom 10 cut potentially, I think that Homa has a lot of DFL potential here.
I bet him at 40 to 1 2 weeks ago at this golf course. So yeah. I mean, like I feel like I have to at least have him in the player pool, even though he is completely broken. So
I think so too. Like if you're building a player pool of 20 guys for 50 lineups, and the field is 68 players, and realistically it's like 65 players. I mean, who is Danny List at 6K? Who is that?
He got in. He got in, I think, on the Charlie Sifford exemption from Tiger. He actually, by the way, just finished third on the Challenge Tour. So he's like a player. He got his tour card through DP qualifying school this year. So he's not like I feel like when like Willie Mack was getting those exemptions, he was like struggling to break 80 at first. Like this guy can play. So
Danny West, there you have
play.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, RB. I need to get into the lab and dive into some more numbers from Phoenix and update the model and such. Who's your big winner this week at Torrey Pines?
One more time, Taylor Pendrith, get across the finish line.
Yeah, I think that's
make everybody happy.
Yeah. I think that's probably what it feels like coming from our neck of the woods. I think it could go horribly wrong too. Like I just like I think it is often when you get to a culmination of a play like this is now you're kind of buying high on Pendrith and we've been buying from all along. So, you know, we're just keeping our stock and essentially increasing our position. I also understand the case for selling, which is probably what people like Kobe are going to argue for. I will go with Finau winner. I think Finau gets it done right before I fucking end his life next week on the pod.
Probably having top 20 play this week too. So
yeah, I'm having Finau's agent come on the pod next week. He's got a lot of stories.
I heard that'll be a good one.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. I'm going to an LA Golf Club event tonight. An influencer event put on by LA Golf Club at the new Din Tai Fung in Santa Monica. I 100% can be bought and paid for by LA Golf Club. That's how fast I switched.
You got to make an appearance at the SoFi Center.
That's how fast I switched my allegiances. I was a New York Golf Club guy, tried and true, and then LA Golf Club invited me to an influencer event at a new dumpling spot in Santa Monica, and I was like, "Sign me up! I will 100% go to this to represent LA Golf Club." So
I don't even know who's playing these matches coming up.
Is TGL on tonight or tomorrow?
I don't think it's on. I think they're off this week.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it President's
They have a
Day
triple header next Monday. Like they have that all day like President's Day triple header. There's like 3 matches. I think the Bay plays twice, so it's kind of weird.
Last question from Fred: can Michael Kim put back-to-back performances? Michael Kim's a Torrey guy. I'm still pretty scarred from his performance last time at Torrey.
I agree.
That was not good.
I mean, I feel like he is a putting merchant, a TPC merchant, here at Torrey, but obviously knows the golf course exceptionally well. So
he does. Played it in high school with my buddy McKinnon. Shout out, Mike. All right, RB, this was a blast as always. If this video helped at all, do not forget to like and subscribe on YouTube as we near 1,000 subs. That would mean a lot to us in terms of keeping a bunch of this stuff on YouTube for free. And until next week, my friend, best of luck this week, buddy.
All right, you too. Enjoy it.
Cheers.
He's left.
He's gone. All right. He's a busy man. See you next week, bud.